Hi everyone, I did it. I finished another journal and I'm gonna show you the end of this one and the beginning of a new one. It's been 10 days since I last did a flip through, so there's gonna be 10 different pages here. So on this day, I drew this bug without looking. You can't really tell that it's a bug, but I actually kind of liked it. And I was just thinking about a lot of different things. Life's just been a little crazy lately, so just kind of writing about stability and maybe having like an exoskeleton. Oh, and then the next day, man, it just got kind of dark. I wrote about like different fears that I have, and I have this poem about this thing that my pastor said to me when I came out, and I might write more about that, I'm not really sure. And I ended up writing about baboons and that line from the Pigman, baboons, baboons, we build our own cages. And Dusty sent me this postcard with this excerpt of a description of a baboon from like the 1960s. So I think I'm gonna make an erasure poem out of that. The next day, I wrote and drew without taking my pen off of the page. So I drew these binder clips before I realized that there was a binder clip here. These are actually those bigger black ones, not the silver one. And I just tried to reread this today and it was really hard. And so I don't even really remember what I wrote that day. Then the next day I ended up writing about the perfect poem because I've just been thinking a lot, as you've probably heard in my other videos, about like where I fit into this poetic world, and I'm trying to get this job in academia and wondering if that's even really what I want to do. My poetry, I'm trying to get this book published, and it seems like, you know, no one really wants this book. So I've been thinking about all the things that I've been taught about poetry and how my poetry is and isn't that, I guess. Also, I've been obsessed with this idea that being like homosexual is the worst sin, and it really, in certain circles, like I just think it is. And why are we like ranking sins anyway? I don't really know. But yeah, I've just been thinking a lot about that. And this is a list of different things you could use a book for. So the prompt in Creative Sprint, it kind of tricks you a little bit, where first you make a list of like, I think it's 20 things or 30 things that you could do with a book, 30 things. And then the next day you're supposed to like do something with that book, or do something on that list with that book. So I ended up just like cutting out some of the pieces of that book. I've also been thinking a lot about selective attention and confirmation bias for a lot of different reasons. One of them because I think I'm on like the Truman Show, except it's like the Matt Wenzel show, I guess. But also my roommate just keeps finding all these cicadas after discovering cicadas, and like she wanted to find a cicada emerging from its shell, and she ended up, I think, finding 3. So that phenomenon where like you see the same thing over and over and you thought maybe like it never existed before and now it's everywhere, it's called like the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, which is named after this terrorist group, I think, in Germany. But this guy, he saw the name like a few times and was like, surely this never existed until now. And then just saw it like everywhere. This day I wrote about how I had a painting that Nate made me of a toothbrush in my bathroom, and I heard my roommate's friends like making fun of it / me, and like explicitly tying it to like homosexuality. And I didn't say anything, and I just like, I don't know, pretended I didn't hear. And it was just like a really weird time. So I tried to write a little bit about that, which also led me into thinking about I think I was trying to think about the word anathema, but instead I was thinking about the word apostate and how I guess in many ways I'm an apostate. Weird. So yeah, the end. That's the end of that notebook. Then I started on this one. And this one's pretty junky. It's made from a lot of prints that I've been making lately. This day, and I've sewn in these half pages this time. So that's something new that I've never done before. Although the cover looks just almost exactly the same. This day you were supposed to fill the whole page with pencil and then erase it, but I have these erasable pens, so I chose to do that and wrote some stuff about body image. That's really exciting. And then I did a little bit more like posterity stuff where I just sort of wrote about what was happening that day. The next day you were supposed to write while moving, and I decided I would go to the park and write because I didn't want to like literally be moving while I was writing. So I went to the park and sat on the different benches at the park and wrote these different excerpts, and I found this like mossy baby's breath kind of plant here, but now it just looks like mush. But it was actually really beautiful before it dried up here. And then the next day it was have someone else tell you what to do. So I didn't have anyone around, so I just looked up this Hafiz poem for the day, and weirdly the end said one more thing. I've seen you at your best and at your worst. Still, you're always welcome near me. And just the day before, which I was writing about my mom and how at her best and her worst, like she was still always like authentically herself. Like I think one thing I love about my mom is that I think the Bible calls it like a respecter of persons. Like she didn't really take a lot of stock in people's like social status, and I think that that's like really admirable. And I guess I'm sort of always thinking about who's who and how I should act around those people, I guess. And then the next day, for some reason, I don't know, I just felt a lot better. And I wrote about this globe flower, which is a flower that grows in a lot of water, like in moist conditions, but not here in Florida. It's one of the few that I could find that grow in wet conditions that doesn't grow here in Florida because I think it's too hot for it. And I wrote some great stuff here, not great, but I wrote some interesting things about eyeballs and globe flowers, but I didn't like the ending, so we'll have to revise a new ending, I guess, later. Then the next day was to learn a new word, and I think this is like a Chinese word for long stream. I don't really understand what that means, so yeah, I just wrote about like streams, and I also was writing about like loneliness that day. And then this is today's, and you were supposed to do something in 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds. So I drew my little date stamper thing. And then I wrote about my librarian in elementary school who would stamp things like super slow. And I decided that I would write for 5 minutes here, and then 3 minutes, and then 1 minute, and then 30 seconds. And I'm pretty excited. about that process. Actually, I was so excited. I wanted to like do this like study idea more. And so I thought I would do this like study of this fern. I found a very similar fern yesterday and I did a thing with it. And then I did this design and then I was like, I'm gonna stamp or like gel print the fern and then I'm gonna put it in paper. And so I actually did do these prints, but they came out kind of terrible. So this is one which I don't think is, actually looks kind of good now that I'm looking at it through the camera, but I'm just obsessed with these like long roots. I love it. So that's one of them, but it's not the print itself, right? This is like the negative, like all the space around it. And I think that just came out a lot better. Here's this yellow one. I've been trying to like do these like colors of maps. This is a turquoise one that, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's okay and then other times I don't. But anyway, that's my 10 days for the last 10 days, and hopefully I will see you in 10 more days. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm gonna do a flip through of my latest 10 pages in my journal. I'm gonna try and make this one a little snappy because I'm hungry and I'm gonna make myself an omelet. So, you're not supposed to crack yourself on that. Start over.